Today we want to talk to you about the Duke Carbon Offsets Initiative and some of the work that we do. My name is Matt Arsenal. I'm the program manager of DCOI, and I'm here with Emma Fulop, who is our program coordinator. Before we get into more specifics, I want to give a quick summary of where DCOI fits into Duke's overall sustainability goals. So as many of you know, Duke has committed to be carbon neutral by 2024. However, even after our colleagues in the Sustainability Office continue to achieve emission reductions, there will still be emissions remaining in Duke's profile at that time. So one of the main goals for DCOI is to figure out how to address these remaining emissions using carbon offsets. We're going to try to address these emissions using high quality carbon offsets that also represent a high amount of co-benefits beyond simply reducing greenhouse gas emissions. A quick history of DCOI is that in 2007, University President Richard Broadhead signed the Second Nature Carbon Commitment. That's the commitment that obligates Duke to be carbon neutral by the year 2024. However, even back in 2007, university administrators realized that this was a very ambitious goal, and they also realized that carbon offsets would likely need to be a part of our strategy to meet this goal. So they convened the Campus Sustainability Committee, which made recommendations, resulting in the 2009 creation of the Duke Carbon Offsets Initiative. DCOI's mission can be broken down into four main components, the first of which is creating high quality carbon offset projects and developing the strategy for the university to purchase carbon offsets. Second part of the mission is to focus on the environmental, economic, and societal co-benefits that offsets might represent. The third part is to provide educational opportunities for students, faculty, and staff as we do our work. And the final part of the mission is to serve as a resource for others outside of Duke University.
So the following are some of our current goals as of October 2020, which are all based in the various aspects of the mission of DCOI. So our first goal is to scale up existing projects so that they have more of an impact. This connects to our mission of developing offsets while also improving the efficiency of our resources. We also hope to work with new community partners. This is especially useful when we consider the co-benefits of a project, because we want to develop projects that will address the needs and the wants of the community. And the best way to do that is to work with the community itself. Under the educational mission of DCOI, one of our goals is to diversify student engagement. So we're working to expand overall knowledge of DCOI throughout Duke. And we specifically want to work with new majors since we've primarily worked with environmental and engineering students in the past. Lastly, a large goal of ours is to develop a strategy for Duke's first large offset purchase as we near the 2024 neutrality date. We want to include due diligence that ensures that all of our offset purchases are high quality and connect to our mission. So it's important to make sure that we're all working with the same definition of a carbon offset. So a carbon offset is a reduction or a removal of 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide equivalent greenhouse gas emission that is used to counterbalance or compensate for emissions from other activities. So like the definition says, Duke uses carbon offsets to make up for or to counterbalance the emissions that remain in the university's greenhouse gas footprint after internal emissions reduction efforts have been exhausted. So this is a graph of Duke's emissions reductions and the remaining emissions in 2024 based on current projections. Offset needs vary based on the highlighted area of opportunity. So biogas and third-party solar developments occurring in the next few years can greatly impact the amount of remaining emissions, which you can see in dark blue. So taking these developments into consideration, the range of projected offsets needed in 2024 is between 73,000 and 208,000 metric tons of CO2 equivalent. However, in August of 2020, Duke announced a large-scale solar purchase, so we'll likely need offsets on the lower end of this range. It's also important to understand where offsets fit into the overall neutrality strategy at Duke and in the Sustainability Office. So the primary focus for neutrality is the outer circle, or reducing emissions from activities at Duke through things like increased carpooling and improving the energy efficiency of on-campus buildings. The second strategy is to invest in renewable energy, like the solar purchase that I just mentioned. And lastly, we use offsets in coordination with these other two strategies to fill in where needed.
So what does a carbon offset project actually look like? Well, there are many different types of carbon offset projects, just a few of which are represented on this slide. Those projects that remain highlighted are projects that DCOI has either developed or is in the process of developing. So we have a waste to energy project that I'll talk about more on the next slide. We've developed several urban forestry projects, mostly in or around Durham. We're working on a peatland restoration project in the eastern part of North Carolina. We're also co-instructors on a Bass Connections class focusing on regenerative grazing and generating offsets from those activities. And finally, we've partnered with a local conservation organization to protect a piece of land and generate carbon offsets through that project. The waste to energy project I mentioned is called Loyd Farms. This is on a hog farm in Yadkinville, North Carolina. So before our project, the waste from 8,600 hogs would go into what's called a waste storage lagoon, which is basically an open pit where the waste from these animals would decompose in contact with the atmosphere. After our project, the waste is piped to an anaerobic digester, which is a closed system not in contact with the atmosphere. As the hog waste decomposes, it generates biogas, which is piped to either a flare or a microturbine, where it's burnt as fuel to generate renewable electricity for the operation of the farm. By capturing and destroying this methane, we generate carbon offsets for Duke University, and this project also generates some co-benefits such as increased water quality and decreased odor for neighbors of the farm.
So if you're interested in learning more about this project and the others that we're working on, you can visit our website, sustainability.duke.edu/offsets. You can also follow Sustainable Duke on social media and look out for DCOI's posts, which usually come out on Wednesdays. We also welcome you to join us at future tree planting events. We try to do one tree planting event a year in Durham. So keep an eye out for an announcement about that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email Matt or I. Our emails are listed at the bottom of the screen.
Thanks for your time, and please feel free to get in contact if you want to know anything else about DCOI.